Get ready because the hype train is about to take off, and we're going to tell you about who and just how high it's going to get today on Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. It's another weekend, another step towards the 2025 season. We're going to get you ready. We are talking about OTAs today. You have done your job and made us your first listen, and we appreciate you, especially you locos, you everyday listeners. We love you guys, and we appreciate it. You can take the next thing that you listen to, another Locked On show, whether it's a national show or another sport or another NFL show. Go check it out and make sure that you do that next. We appreciate it because we're free and available everywhere, all the time, every day, 5 days a week plus. And if you don't know us, we've been doing this 9 years now.
It's crazy
to get to this point of, 300 episodes plus a year. That's the way we roll, and that's what we're going to keep doing. We appreciate you. So he is Chris Clark over at KC Chiefs Corners with his written work, his research work, all the stuff you want to know about the cap and the quarterbacks and that stuff. I'm Ryan Tracy. You can find me at Rogue Analytics, where I do the athletic metrics during the draft cycle and all the advanced analytics during the year. My staff looks into some funky stuff around the league at NFL 33. You can find me on RGR Football as well. We appreciate you checking those out, as well as the rest of us. And we cover this team from as many aspects as we can. We try to take it 360 as much as humanly possible, but sometimes things creep up on us. And when they do, you're going to find it on the text line at 816-357-8781. Get subscribed over there today. Where are we going today? Like, OTAs are coming. You can feel it kind of ramping up. There's a lot of questions about who wants to see what. There are some risks involved with it, both on our part and the team's part. Those are coming up later in the show. This hype train is about to take off. And for a number of players and for this team as well, we're going to get to who and when coming up here in a little bit. But first, bottom line, we have to get out of the way. What the foundation is as we start to look at what's going to happen in OTAs and what must happen in OTAs. There are plenty of players involved. What's the number one thing that has to happen for you?
When I look at this, number one thing for me is you just have to get out of there without having injuries. I'm sorry, it's going to be simple. Just don't have any injuries. I wish that I could say it's more, but I would love to see stuff from Josh Simmons. I'd love to see him get some team stuff if they feel like he's ready for that. But I don't want to push it either. But to me, the must happen is just get out of there without having any injuries. Don't have somebody step on somebody's foot wrong. And that's my big thing.
Yeah, and that's fair. And I will echo that to the day that I die. That is every day, all the time. It's got to be the forefront, especially when you have players coming back. In terms of logistics and figuring out who's going to be where and when, I know there's a lot of concern about a couple of positions, but I will say, in order to make the whole thing work, the number one thing, the thing that must happen in this OTA season, and I know we have a few weeks, folks. We're just taking the first glance at it, and we'll have more once they have a couple of practices. But the number one thing for me is figure out, is Kingsley going to be able to play left guard? Because that sets the anchor for the left tackle that I'm sure we'll talk about as well. But you got to have that solid inside. The whole left side is going to be in flux. And will they try some other players out there during this OTA season? Absolutely. But they must figure out if it's going to be Kingsley or if it's going to be player X. And I don't know who that X would be because I really don't think there's a whole lot of competition there on the left-hand side.
And if he can step in and play that's a fantastic position for Kansas City to be in, because then you are at a state of flux of only one position on the offensive line and only one big question mark at the offensive line, which is left tackle. So to me, I think that would be huge. The other thing that I really want to see is, what are you going to be able to see from guys that are coming back from injuries? What are you going to be able to see from like a guy like Rashee Rice? What's he going to be able to do? Is he going to be involved in things? And it's not necessarily to see what he's able to do on the field, just near as much to see how the recovery is coming and to see how close it looks like he is to being at least close to fully back before training camp.
It's a process, and it needs to be a step forward, right? That makes perfect sense. There's also got to be a couple of other things. There's got to be somebody that says, hey, I'm going to stake my claim to this job before we get to camp. And I mean at the cornerback spot. I expect Christian Fulton to be able to walk in there and play well enough in a new system that there really isn't much question by the time we get past mandatory minicamp and onto the actual summer break before they get back to camp. The question's going to be, is Jalen Watson healthy enough to fend off his teammates, his draft classmates, and Noel Williams? Because if there's one guy here that must make a statement, it's Jalen Watson to me, because he's got too much competition for him to just sit back and expect to be CB3 without much of a competition.
Yeah, and it's one of the biggest probably camp battles that we're going to see. And I know we're not talking training camp, but that's what it's going to end up getting to eventually. Is it's going to be a training camp battle. We're going to see shorts and helmets in OTAs, and we'll get an idea as to where these guys are in that. But we'll not really know until training camp. So that's going to be one of the biggest battles in training camp, is to figure out who that corner is going to be. Sorry, my throat is getting to me. I apologize.
It happens. It's allergy season. And the first step to getting there is what goes on in OTAs. Now, the other thing that I think has to come to fruition is Patrick's got to be able to cook. I know it's just a passing camp for the most part, at least until the end. Reed's got to let him be creative to the point that he can develop that rapport with his targets a little bit more. And not that he doesn't know them, but he doesn't know them necessarily in this rotation, in this spot, and that kind of thing. Like, this has to be an extension of what's come before with the addition of the new players, obviously. But it's got to be sorted out. And I think it's got to be a chuck it kind of camp.
I laugh because it's funny hearing that coming from you. Mr. I want to run the ball all the time and defense, and I want to chuck the ball during camp. Okay, I'm fine with that. Like that would be awesome, and I do think that we're going to get a lot of that. But I don't want to just see it from Patrick. I want to see it from all three or all four QBs. Like, I want this, and the reason I say that, and the reason it's different to me, is because if it's coming from all four quarterbacks, that likely means it's more offense related versus it's Patrick related. And to me, it needs to be both. Patrick needs to have that for sure, but it needs to be offensive oriented, and the offense needs to be trying to attack that way.
Yeah, it certainly does. It's got to be a concerted effort on every level. And it's got to lay the foundation for the takeoff that is about to happen. The hype train is fueled and ready, folks. A couple of players are really going to get hyped in this next month. We're going to tell you who they are and why they are next. Did you ever open your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, it's easy to lose track. And that's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, spending all in one place, so that you can stop managing your money and start building your wealth. Everything is in one spot. It's super convenient. You don't have to do multiple apps. You can go one place and get everything done that you need to know for your finances. Take control of those finances with Monarch Money. Use our code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off of your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL, all one word, for half off your first year. Make sure you like and sub. Hit the bell here on YouTube, and make sure that you're on the audio platforms as well. For when you're out and about and you can't watch, you might as well listen. So we're available there all the time as well. I think number one, it's not going to get out of hand hyped on Patrick Mahomes. I don't think that's going to be the focus of what goes on for the next 5 weeks. I think it's going to be about one guy, especially if he's able to turn and run. It's going to be Rashee Rice, because the desire for that is too immense. And we see in OTAs, especially when we're passing the ball around a lot, guys who make nice catches and are where they're supposed to be have a tendency to get overhyped in this process. I don't think there's any stopping Rashee Rice.
It's going to be a lot of fun to see him back in this offense, and then to watch what he's able to do with all the other offensive pieces around him. I mean, that's the fun part of, you get into OTAs and the coaches get a chance to actually see, okay, what's this look like when we have all three of these players on the field at the same time with spacing? And how do they look together running these different routes and this different combination and trying this different specific play? Because this is when you start throwing plays into the book for training camp. This is when you start trying things new. And it sounds like a bunch of garbage, but the reality is this is when you start building the playbook. Like, this is how they figure out this is what we're going to be using during the regular season. It's not going to be everything, but it's going to be a lot of it, and it's going to be a lot of fun because you get Rashee Rice on the field, you get Xavier Worthy on the field, you get Hollywood Brown on the field, and Worthy, I'm guessing, probably wasn't getting starter type snaps last year in OTAs. He will be this year, and it's a different scenario. Like, you're going to have a different scenario for all these guys that are going to be on offense, and it's going to be a situation where Mahomes is going to be going out there and knowing, okay, this is probably where I'm going to be going. But you're going to see what Rice does to get open. You're going to see what Worthy does to get open. You're going to see how they work together and how they, mesh off of each other. This is the fun time of year. I really wish that we could see some more video of this, because I'm sure that there are going to be some highlight catches. And the big thing, and you kind of mentioned this a little bit, that this is the time that you get overhyped with people. But the big thing that you need to be paying attention to when it gets to this type of thing is who's going and attacking the ball, who's coming down with the ball, because it's the players that know and are always working on the things that they're going to be doing in the games, attacking the ball, trying to catch it in their hands versus letting it get into their body. It's the small things that we don't think about that show up on game day in September and in January, honestly.
Yeah, it has to be. Another player that's going to get his hype train rolled out because he's not going to be pushed. You don't have a lot of contact. Getting into this offense, getting into a left-handed pass set, something Jalen Moore can do in his sleep. He's going to look great. The team's going to pump him up. The coaches are going to pump him up. The media is going to go absolutely ballistic, and we won't know hardly anything more 2 months from now than we know right this second. It won't matter until camp comes on, but that train is going to be a runaway.
It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. There are so many different players that I'm looking forward to, and just getting just a little bit of information on these players. The other thing that I'm going to be curious about, hype train is one of those things that we kind of started hearing this time last year was, Nico Remigio was a guy that started to have success and was starting to show up in offense. Can he do that again this year? Can he take a step forward? Because he has to take a step forward to be on this roster and to make a contribution this year. So it's guys like that are going to be a big question. But then the other one is, what do you hear from the guys, and how much hype do you get from, a guy like Elijah Mitchell, who is going to be new in this offense this year? What does he bring? How's that going to look?
Yeah, how can he look? Like, is he fully recovered, right? That's going to be part of that equation, because he has the ability, when healthy, to be a game changer. He has the ability to be the next Jet McKinnon, to be in position to have the acceleration if he's able to be healthy and stay healthy. Availability is your best ability. And that's the way it always comes down.
As Ryan drops something in the background.
Yeah, sorry.
It happens. I'm having trouble. It is what it is. When you look at this, though, and you start flipping it over onto the defensive side of the ball, what is Boss's role? Like, I understand he's not going to be a starter, but what are they going to do with him? What are they going to use him on? How are they going to put him in there? And the bigger thing, and we kind of talked about this when the draft happened, with them not taking a safety, you would think it's going to end up being Noel Williams, though it could end up being a guy like Christian Fulton too. Who's going to be the guy that Steve Spagnuolo was always around during these practices?
Right.
Who is he taking under his wing? Not necessarily to try to teach them, but just try to get get on the same page, I guess. Teach to an extent, but look at all the rookies that he's done it to. And I would say it's generally going to be a rookie like Noel Williams or somebody like that, but maybe it's Christian Fulton. They haven't really had a guy that has been a veteran that they've brought in of that caliber. So is it something where they want to make sure he is seeing things exactly how Spags is seeing them? Because that is going to make a difference when you get into November, December, and you're calling defenses, and you want to make sure that your corners seeing things the same way that you think that they should be seeing them.
I don't know if it'll be Fulton or not. I have a feeling it'll be Williams a little bit, but I will tell you this: whoever that person is, whoever gets the shot from the KC Star on the second day of open practice with Spags' arm around him, That guy
Watch
is
for
going
it.
to be Brad Pitt on a bullet train. That's the kind of hype that we are going to talk about. And we're going to do it too, because it is a legitimate indicator. But holy cow, that is just going to light the fire.
Yeah, no, it really is. And every single year he's had one. And Jaden Hicks was last year. I can't remember. It was Chamari Connor probably 2 years ago. Trey McDuffie when he was a rookie. I mean, you can go back the list.
I mean, yeah, it goes on and on.
Right. It continues going. So, and it was crazy because Trey McDuffie's class had so many of the. Think about all the rookies that they had. The 5 DBs in that class alone. So, it is a big thing when Spags takes somebody under his wing to do that. The other thing that I'm going to be curious about is what do you start looking at and what do you start getting? Can you start seeing a hype of any sort coming from the safety group? Because that's going to be a position that's in flux with no Justin Reed. Are you going to see Brian Cook? Are you going to see Mike Edwards? Are you going to see a Jaden Hicks, Chamari Connor doing something during OTAs to make you go, okay, I feel a little bit better about this?
Yeah, go make some plays. It will make you feel better, make me feel better too. But even when you feel better, there's still risks in letting yourself get carried away and letting yourself see things that may not actually be there. What are they? Next. Thank you for being here in our last segment of the day, the one that I call the PSA of the day, because this is where we warn you about what hype does to expectations, because you can go back to guys like DeAnthony, Darwin Thompson. Rashad Smith's good to have all kinds of hype around him because he's going to get the ball in his hands. He's going to do special things. It's going to look beautiful. Is he going to beat Elijah Mitchell? We won't know for months. Is he going to be a guy that can actually contribute in the actual ball games come this fall?
Can he make
we
the
won't
roster?
know. Right. I wasn't going to go that far, but yeah, okay, fair.
Well, he's
like
a
we're going to
7th round
see.
pick, like,
right.
You
At a
only
weak
have so many
position on this
spots.
roster, though.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a tough position with all the players that they already have.
Yeah. So beware the Darwin Thompson treatment for Rashard Smith. Just let it be what it is, and we'll see it in camp, I think, a little bit clearer. So that's one risk, to just kind of don't let the media run away with it on you.
Well, the other one is don't let the media run away with wide receivers that aren't probably the top 6 or 7 that we've already talked about. The reality is that they're going to be going up against DBs that generally probably won't make an NFL roster. And even if they do, you're not able to do everything that you would normally do on an NFL field. So it kind of goes back to the same thing with the starters to an extent, but you want to see it from those guys. The second, the next level players, it's a question of, okay, is that real or is it going to be hype? And we won't know if that's real or if it's hype until they start actually doing it when the pads come on in training camp, and even more so if they start doing it in preseason games.
Yeah, I agree. I will tell you, this is my biggest risk, and one that I will do my best to manage and be the voice of reason through this summer. But you're going to see some things. You're going to see Josh Simmons take some reps. It's going to be against air, and it's going to look great. And then it's going to start ticking in. And the risk is that the coaching staff starts listening to the media and the fans, because we all want to see him as soon as possible, right? The smartest play here is to not push Josh Simmons in OTAs and to not push him in training camp, and to let him come along naturally. And if he gets to the point where he can actually play reps sometime during the season, to let him just sneak in there and get a little bit of experience. The caution has to be, the risk is rushing him, and that could hurt you for years.
Yeah, and that goes back to what we kind of talked about on Friday's show a little bit with the crazy report that he could possibly be their guy if he's healthy. I agree with you. Like, to me, and I said this when they first drafted him, I don't care if they redshirt him. Mm-hmm. Like, and I know, and we might as well have that conversation. Let's say he ends up being 100% healthy. Are you okay with him starting and basically kicking a $30 million investment to a backup role? I am. But the other side of that is going back to what you said. You don't want to rush it, and you want to make sure he's good. So that's the key, though. Is he good? Is he, like, you're always going to have injury issues. You're always going to have re-injury issues that you could potentially have. You obviously don't want to deal with that. But if he is 100%, if they're as healthy as he think he's going to get, it's going to be a tough decision for him. And that's a great point that you make, that, you know, not to get too excited, not to try to push it when he's really not there yet.
And that's the
But
thing.
the medical staff will know.
They will, but this is a significant injury, and it's tricky. It's one of the tougher ones to see about how the recovery path goes. It honestly is very similar to what we saw with L'Jarius Sneed. Once he had the first one, they kept bringing him back and thinking he was there, and he wasn't, and then something tweaked again. You can't afford to do that with a first-round offensive tackle that has to protect Patrick Mahomes. That just can't be allowed to happen. So even if he looks good, I'm rallying right here today, tonight, and I'll do it all summer long for the coaching staff and the training staff to err on the side of caution and not allow what looks good on a given day to feed into what happens the next day. And just take it easy, because I think this could be a systemic risk to this organization if something were to set him back, because I do see him as the possibility next year of being a decade-long tackle to protect Patrick Mahomes. And I don't care about the money or what Jalen Moore's getting, or if he and Juwan got to start fighting out for the right side. None of that matters to me. It's about the longevity of this particular player.
Fair enough. But can you answer the question? I'm just curious. If he's 100%
remember
healthy,
how you phrased it. Oh, if he's 100% healthy,
are you okay with benching your $30 million investment to have him start?
If he's 100% healthy, no. I would make him probably the sixth man, and I would try to run some jumbo and give him some reps and give him a little bit without pushing it to the point that you're asking him to take on a load of 75 snaps a game. You know what I mean? So
I'm fine with that. I will say this, though. I'm not going to be upset if he ends up being healthy and they think that he can start if he starts. I'm not going to care that they invested $30 million into Jalen Moore, and he's not going to be the starter, because guess what? You invested to protect Patrick Mahomes. You had no idea whether or not you were going to get Simmons. And you cannot look at those moves, you know,
in a
years
vacuum.
after you can't look at it from after the fact. It's not like you knew you were going to get Simmons. So to me, I don't really care. When I look at this, though, you know, the risk of the summer, it's, you know, we've talked about, you know, all the different risks of watching players do things that they're not going to be able to do. We've had that multiple years. Justin Ross has done some amazing things in OTAs, and he's even done some things in training camp, but it doesn't just seem to get there on the field. So the question is can they get to a point where you feel like some of the defenders that you're going to have questions about, like a guy like Norman Lott, you're not going to be able to see anything in really the summer, other than can he figure out where he's supposed to line up? Can he figure out his where he's supposed to be? And can he be where he's supposed to be at all times? Because if he can do that, that steps in the right direction to get him in a position to where he can make a bigger contribution once the season starts. But it's those types of things, those small things that we're not going to be able to see and that we can't really get a good read on, that are the things I want to know the most about. And that's the thing that stinks.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. I'll tell you the other thing that is just a risk for us as outside observers, non-credentialed press who don't get to go to practice. The other thing is thinking that this is nothing. This isn't a time to walk away from the team or think that nothing's going on, because the little things that do happen are progress down the road towards training camp, towards the regular season, towards the postseason, towards the Super Bowl. So don't discount it. Don't check out, because you could miss things that will tell you a little bit more about the background about how things are going to go when it comes to week 2 against the Eagles, or it comes to the bye week and the week before against the Bills. Though they all play in, and there is significant things that do happen as foundational right now, starting this week, this time of year.
Yeah, and the other thing, when you start looking at this and what this is all going to mean for the season, is this is also, Patrick may have been having some time with some of the wide receivers and some of the tight ends. Like, he may have been having some throwing sessions, and they may have been able to do a little bit here and there. But this is also really the time where all the coaches are going to finally get to see what they've seen in the training room. They've seen these guys. They've noticed, okay, this guy's body has changed, because that is something that happens between year 1 and year 2, or sometimes year 2 and year 3, depending on the player. What is this new body that they have? How does that apply? And how does that change what they're able to do on the field? Because losing body fat can change a lot of what you're doing, especially at those other skill type positions. And then, you get into, speed and strength and all that when you're talking about offensive and defensive line. How can they move when they're doing things like that? That's the small things that the coaches are going to see for the first time coming on Tuesday.
Mass times acceleration, folks. It never changes. Nothing goes around it. But we appreciate you. We hope you're ready for it. We're going to have more for you, including Matt and Derek this week, like we always do. We'll always have all the insight that we can give you on this team, on these players for you when you need it. We appreciate you subscribing and being with us. You locos, you are the people that we do this for. We appreciate you very much. We are ready. We hope you are. Thank you for listening today. We'll talk to you tomorrow.